Let's bring in gender-based violence activist Norma Mbele from Tosunga Baninga. It's a community-based organization that supports the survivors of gender-based violence, rape and femicide. This, of course, as we highlight the scourge of gender-based violence in commemoration of Uyinene Mrwetyana's death. Norma, good afternoon, and thank you for your time at the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon, Alison. How are you? And thanks for having me.
I'm well. Thank you for asking. I trust you're also well. Perhaps just shining a spotlight on the scourge of GBV in the country. It's not a pretty picture. It's obviously evoking a lot of strong sentiments, just given that scourge and the reality of the ground. Perhaps as we've entered the 7th administration, the expectations, I mean, we've seen political parties and independent candidates alike campaigning around this issue. Some arguing that they've just hijacked the issue once again to gain numbers. But given the promises in the manifestos and following the formation of the government of national unity, is there more hope at this point?
I actually want to say to Mamaga Uyinene, thank you for keeping Uyinene's memories alive. And I don't want to lie, in the grassroots, it's not in the boardrooms. And the grassroots, it's not like how politicians say and write the manifestos. For an example, we've seen the manifestos of the new political parties as they were saying that the women will lead and everything. When they got a chance to go to GNU, they didn't take the women there. Only men went up there. So the scourge of gender-based violence is 2019 when Uyinene was murdered and went to JSE. It went high. Besides going high, cases are thrown out because there is no proper investigation. We remember what the first summit gave us, the NSP. The NSP that was saying people should not be given bail. But when you go to court, because the court system hasn't have the law that says a person should not be given bail, remember people have the right. So perpetrators have more rights when you go to court. We are dealing with cases, for an example. There are cases that one perpetrator has actually committed rape twice, and he was given bail on the second time. He went out, he committed rape, and we went and we challenged the bail application. He was given bail. He's out on bail. And we are going back and forth because of the delay of the DNA. A young woman of 19 years was stabbed to death. Unfortunately, they all got bail, and the other painful thing is when the victim's family goes to court and they are told that we are postponing the case because the perpetrator is going to write his exams. It's so heartbreaking, and the crime goes high as long as we don't have political leaders who have political will. We are facing a real challenge.
Norma,
and on the grassroots, okay, let
me just come in there, because you've echoed quite a lot of pertinent points. Just really speaking to the issue of a lack of justice for survivors and victims alike, how police are failing them, the system is failing them, issues of resources also coming to the fore. But perhaps also on the back of the crime statistics that had been revealed. I mean, it's important to acknowledge the grave concerns on the reality on the ground, but it needs to be followed by action, swift action for that matter, and also shifting mindsets. The very terminology that is used is problematic as well. How do we begin to shift those norms and change, that violent behavior that we see in our contemporary reality, perhaps also having stemmed from our own PTSD with regards to our history as a country?
You know what we are doing as a grassroots organization? We found that there are young boys who never committed any crime, and we cannot hate them for not doing anything, just being boys. And we started working with an organization called In Touch Justice, which deals with the boy child. and we do programs with the boys so that we capacitate them, they understand the issues of gender-based violence. They also share their own stories. We are now trying to say, how do we create safer communities? How do we also hold ourselves accountable? We're not only holding government and other people accountable, we are also creating a space to say, in our community, it's both, we have boys, we have men, we have elderly people. How all of us can find ways of living together without violence. But it's kind of like, it's heavy,
yes.
It's not doable, but I know if this can be a model that we take forth, like for an example, if we take dignitary pet to schools, and these are the twins coming from a poor household, but you only give a girl child. You don't give a boy child who's a twin brother to this other one. What are we creating? Are we not also, as civil society, creating anger and also dividing families? We also have to go back to the drawing board and see what are we also creating. How can we create a community that love one another, community that shares with one another, community that will learn to hold hands? I believe we can go somewhere. It's not easy, but we can go somewhere because we have 150 young boys who have committed that they will never commit a crime against any other human, especially a girl child in their school and when they go to varsity. And we are holding them accountable. This year, we are having the first group of 10 boys who are going to varsity, who will be following until they finish their studies.
Because as you say, it's about inclusivity, equity, and equality at large. And it is about bringing, the boy child along and men as well. I want to look at the timeline adherence as well, just with regards to the GBVF bill that obviously had been introduced. There are concerns that there isn't funding for this. And as we look at the GBVF Council as well, what they're tasked to do, how can we actually ensure that success follows, that we can measure, its efficacy as well at this point, fostering social cohesion?
I don't want to lie on terms of these other things that are coming up. Remember the second summit? The second summit was never the same summit as the first summit, where most of the grassroots were part of this and just ordinary.
All right, it seems like we've lost connection there with Norma Mbele, but she has really just joined us this afternoon rather, to chat about the scourge of GBVF in South Africa. This is obviously just on the back of honouring and remembering Uyinene Mrwetyana, where the foundation have been set up in a name alongside Magazole Mapimpi. There's a walk that is happening. It's the third walk that is happening there in honour of her, but also, just as I mentioned, highlighting the plight of GBVF, the strides that have been taken, the challenges that continue to pervade society at large, and its impact on the most vulnerable.